Strong Opinion Sports is powered by FanDuel, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network. Oh my goodness. Good morning, good afternoon. Whatever it is for you, I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Zach Schomler. This is Strong Opinion Sports, episode 581. Welcome in. I want to be very clear. I am very sick. I do not feel well. I believe it's a sinus infection. I can't hear myself very well. I'm not doing great. If my voice sounds kind of weird, that's why. I'm just very sick and pushing through, recording on a Sunday night. Again, Hawaii time zone is fantastic because the primetime game is at 2 p.m. and then you get to watch it, record afterward on a Sunday night. Here we are. So I'm doing my best. I did not go to... Something really cool happened this weekend I want to really briefly share. There's a listener of the show named Joel who reached out to me. And one of my favorite things about this job is that you occasionally get people who reach out to you saying, hey, do you want to meet up? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And he said, do you want to go to a Hawaii high school football game? Now, unfortunately, the game we tried to go to, Kahuku against St. John Bosco, was actually sold out. We couldn't go. Kahuku did knock off St. John Bosco. It was very cool. But I wanted to share a little story. I think that's awesome. And later in the month, I guess October, I think on October 7th, we're going to go watch Kahuku against Campbell. Kahuku is this legendary town of like 2,200 people that just is crazy for football. And again, they just beat like the second best team in the entire nation in high school football. It's going to be a really fun game day atmosphere. So I'm excited for that. But I just wanted to share, like, one of the cool things about this job is getting to interact with people who send me messages and have cool opportunities here and there. And I really love that, man. I think it's awesome. I'm wearing the Tua shirt. Hasn't been taken out in a while. The Tua shirt is in celebration of Tua winning tonight on Sunday Night Football. Before we get into the show, we do got to pay the bills. But before we get into the ad break real quick, I want to ask, I felt like the games I watched this weekend were mundane, a bit not super compelling. I don't know if it's because I was super sick. I don't know. Like, I watched the Cardinals-Giants game. That was really fun. Washington came back and beat Denver. We'll talk about that today. But I feel like a lot of the games this weekend were kind of like, and I'm curious, maybe what I want to do. So I'm recording tonight, Sunday night. Then I'll record again on Tuesday. I've got a lot of football to watch tomorrow because I can't get to every game on a Sunday. I'm one man watching football by myself. But feel free to write in. Let me know. Whatever stuff I don't include in this episode. Is there something I'm missing? I'm going to watch the Rams game tomorrow. I'm going to watch Houston against Indy tomorrow. I think there's a conversation to be had about whether Anthony Richardson needs to do more to protect himself, for example. But feel free to write in. If you have... I don't want to miss out on the good story from week 2, but I felt like the football I watched today on Sunday was kind of like, not the best games. For example, Sunday Night Football, we'll talk about in a moment. But before we do that, before we get into Sunday Night Football, let's take a break. We got to pay the bills. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options from spreads, player props, overs and unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Boston. That's FanDuel.com/Boston. And kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Hope is here. First online, real money wager only. $10 first deposit required, bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. GamblingHelplineMA.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com or call 1-800-GAM-1234. I always say pay the bills. I never thought about the Bills mascot, the Buffalo Bills mascot. The Buffalo Bills, I always assumed was a reference to Buffalo Bill, the old cowboy whatever figure. What if it's just the Bills in general? Like, what's more terrifying, Buffalo Bill or just your monthly rent bill? Maybe we should look at the Buffalo Bills mascot a little bit differently, saying, no, it's the actual bills you got to pay. That's the real terrifying force that is the Bills mascot. Let's jump in. On Sunday Night Football, Miami beat the Patriots 24-17. To me, it was a frustrating, disappointing game. Miami was up 17-3 at halftime, then later 24-10. The Patriots got 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to make it a one-score game, make it a little more interesting, but I was hoping for a closer, more back-and-forth game. We didn't get that. I found that disappointing. It was better. This Sunday Night Football game in Week 2 was better than Week 1 between the Giants and Cowboys. 40-0 was not very fun to watch. But for the Patriots offense, this game was a story of too little, too late. If you're watching on YouTube and you see random cuts in this episode, it's because I'm hacking up a lung, literally like a bunch of yellow phlegm into a little cup over here. So the show must go on. So it was a shame that the Patriots offense, to me, didn't do enough to win this football game because their defense played really well. I thought they really limited Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, the 2 stud receivers in Miami. Jalen Waddle had 4 catches for 86 yards. That's a lot of yards, but not very many catches, no touchdowns. Tyreek Hill had 5 catches for 40 yards, 1 touchdown. As far as a game against Miami, that's a pretty moderate amount of yards and touchdowns for those 2 guys. In fact, later in the game, in the fourth quarter, Miami took a deep shot to Tyreek Hill, and it got picked off by Patriots rookie corner Christian Gonzalez. So I thought, all things considered, especially when you talk about the fact that the Patriots defense from the night had a backup corner on one side of the field the entire game, I thought the Patriots defense did enough to win this football game. You hold Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle to 1 touchdown combined, less than 100 yards for each of them, 9 catches between the 2. That's a pretty solid night on defense, and to me, the real story is that the Patriots offense just cannot score enough points. And Mac Jones, their quarterback, isn't awful in New England. He made some good plays in the fourth quarter, did a couple things where he was extending a play, made a couple throws. I thought Mac Jones was not horrible in this football game, but he never really is. But he's also never very often amazing and outstanding. There's a reason why last year I gave him a nickname, Mac Oatmeal Jones, because oatmeal is not a great breakfast, but it's also not horrible. It's just fine. And Mac Jones is exactly that. And one moment that really stands out to me is the Patriots got the ball down 7 points with 2 minutes and 14 seconds left. And in the past, during the Tom Brady era, that felt like a guaranteed touchdown. Tom Brady with the ball late in the game, you're like, okay, we're going to overtime because Tom Brady's going to tie the game here. And we didn't get that. I don't want to always compare Mac Jones to Tom Brady. I've tried to be very conscious in not doing that, but it was really apparent in this game. Like, man, this is not the same Patriots team at quarterback without Tom Brady. And it's time to start questioning Patriots head coach Bill Belichick, because in the 3 years since Tom Brady left New England, the Patriots, 3 years and 2 games now, the Patriots are 25-30 since Tom Brady left. 1 year with Cam Newton, 2 years with Mac Jones. Since Tom Brady left, the Patriots have simply been mediocre. And it's frustrating. It's disappointing because I feel like they've got good pieces here and there, and they do some good stuff coaching-wise, but they're always just not good enough. And right now, the Patriots are 0-2. I would love to hear from their fan base, see how they feel about it. Now, Miami's 2-0. And a couple guys stood out for Miami. They were running back Raheem Mostert at 18 carries for 121 yards and 2 touchdowns. So Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle were bottled up pretty much the entire game, but Raheem Mostert went crazy, 2 touchdowns, 121 yards rushing. And then pass rusher Jalen Phillips did not play in this football game. Stepping up in his place was Andrew Van Ginkel, a former 5th-round pick out of Wisconsin. Dude had 6 tackles, a sack, a tackle for loss, was getting a ton of pressure on Mac Jones. It was really cool to see. I became a fan of Andrew Van Ginkel watching this football game. Now, actually, the coolest and most notable play from this game, the one that we'll be talking about probably the rest of the year, was when the Patriots blocked a Miami field goal. Braden Schooler got a running start off the, what's from the kicking perspective off the right side of the line of scrimmage. I always talk about from the offensive perspective. Braden Schooler comes off the right, gets a running start, jumps the snap and runs and blocks the field goal. And it was really interesting because it was him getting a full steam ahead. I don't know what the indication was. Maybe he was waiting for usually the holder gives some kind of signal to the center to snap the ball. Maybe that's when he started running. I got to watch the all-22 to see what happened there. But to me, it was a potentially game-changing play that's going to make – there's going to be an effect from that where people are going to start copying that play and going to have defenders come get a running start off the edge to go block field goals. And even the second field goal, he didn't block the second field goal attempt Miami took after that. But what he did do is, I think, distract the kicker enough. The next kick was a miss, and I wonder – Chris Collinsworth felt the same thing watching the game. Did that rush coming off the edge creep into the back of the kicker's mind and take his eyes off the snap and off of his job a little bit? That's the play of the game that we're going to talk about in weeks to come, because I could see that happening in college. I could see at all levels of football, people start copying that play that Braden Schooler made, getting a running start off the edge and going to block that field goal. Now, Miami's next two games are Denver at home. They play Denver and Miami. Then they play at Buffalo. And if you've been watching the Denver Broncos at all this year, it's very likely that Miami's going to be 3-0 going into that big game against Buffalo. And I am hoping and praying that that game, Miami at Buffalo Week 4, is going to be a beautiful, awesome, exciting football game. Now, the Patriots' next two games are at the Jets and then at Dallas. And the Jets game is winnable. That's against a tough defense, but a very winnable game. Zach Wilson against the Patriots defense feels like a recipe for disaster for the Jets. But the Cowboys game is going to be ugly. We have watched the Cowboys defense absolutely dominate everybody they played. 2 games so far this year. They've crushed everybody. Lots of turnovers, lots of interceptions, sacks, getting after the quarterback. I am worried about Mac Jones when he plays against the Cowboys defense. I think that's a disaster matchup. And I think most quarterbacks that play against the Dallas Cowboys defense are going to struggle. So, I don't know. Patriots are 0-2 right now. Very likely going to start the year 1-3. If not, 0-4. If they got to win next week against the Jets, you have to win that football game. Zach Wilson, the starting quarterback for the Jets, you got to win that matchup. Can you imagine if the Patriots start the year 0-4? It's really bad. I've always been on the train that Bill Belichick gets to walk away whenever he wants. You win 6 Super Bowls, you get the longest leash in NFL history, right? He's going to decide when he stops coaching for the Patriots. But I also think you have to start questioning what he's doing, because it's just, again, since Tom Brady left, the Patriots have been nothing but extremely mediocre and average. And I keep waiting and hoping to see the Patriots get back to what they once were. But I think we've learned that what made the Patriots dynasty special was Tom Brady, the quarterback, more than Bill Belichick, the coach. I know that's blasphemous. I know that's, you're not supposed to say that, but I just constantly have been overwhelmed by this Patriots team ever since Tom Brady left. And I just find it really frustrating. Talk about things that are frustrating. Kansas City beat the Jaguars 17-9. I'm not frustrated that the Chiefs won this football game. I'm disappointed that it wasn't a close, hard-fought game. I wanted a shootout. So it was 7-6 at halftime. It wasn't a close game, but the Jaguars didn't even get a touchdown in this football game. So maybe to me, this game was a victim of my expectations, but I was hoping for an epic, fun battle between Trevor Lawrence and Patrick Mahomes, and instead what we got was kind of a defensive battle. Not the best game from Trevor Lawrence. The Jaguars were 0-3 in the red zone. They had 2 field goals and a turnover on downs. Now, the Jaguars did catch 2 touchdowns, the Jaguars caught 4 passes in or around the end zone, but they were all either out of bounds completely or had only 1 foot in bounds. And so there were opportunities the Jaguars had they didn't capitalize on. And it's worth noting also that the Jaguars' number 1 overall pick from last year in 2022, Travon Walker, basically had no impact in the game. And we've had this conversation before. Did the Jaguars draft the wrong guy? Aiden Hutchinson was available, and they drafted Travon Walker instead. Week 1 against Kansas City, the same team that Travon Walker just played, Aiden Hutchinson made a massive impact in that football game, getting after Patrick Mahomes, causing problems for the Chiefs' offense. We did not see Travon Walker doing that in week 2 of this year. That's frustrating. It's, a great comparison point to say, Aiden Hutchinson is way farther ahead in his development than Travon Walker. Now, here's what stands out about Kansas City. Number 1, Travis Kelce came back. Travis Kelce, the tight end in Kansas City, had 4 catches for 26 yards and a touchdown. That's a decent first game back. He actually, I thought, had a touchdown he dropped. He could have caught. It went through his hands. Would have been not the easiest catch ever, but was a catchable ball for Travis Kelce. He dropped that. Felt like he was a slow return, like kind of a slow return back to playing this week in week 2. And then what's really interesting to me is that 11 different receivers caught passes for Kansas City in this football game. Sky Moore had 3 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown. Kadarius Toney, the massive problem from week 1 as they lost to the Lions. He had a bunch of notable drops, one that went for an interception. Kadarius Toney actually caught the most passes of any receiver on Kansas City's roster week 2. He was targeted 5 times, caught all 5 passes, 5 catches for 35 yards. That's awesome. Patrick Mahomes on the day was 29 for 41 passing, 305 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. And the guys that Patrick Mahomes is throwing to really, really stand out to me and make me feel more impressed with Patrick Mahomes. Yes, we know about Travis Kelce. He's throwing to Travis Kelce. He's a stud. Probably the best receiving tight end in football. But then you've got Sky Moore, a second-round pick in 2022. Justin Watson, a 5th-round pick in 2018. Noah Gray, a 5th-round pick in 2021. Rashee Rice, a 2nd-round pick. He's a rookie. Kadarius Toney's a former 1st-round pick, but he was viewed as a bust in New York, ended up in Kansas City, but didn't really work out when he was drafted. KC running back Isaiah Pacheco was a 7th-round pick in 2022. To me, it's just cool to see how much Patrick Mahomes does well and moves the football and stacks yards and completions and frankly wins without star players around him. And to me, Patrick Mahomes is so good that Kansas City can get away with not having premier talent at the receiver position, and I find that really interesting and exciting. Now, this was a tough loss for the Jaguars. Kansas City gave them opportunities. Richie James fumbled a punt. Justin Watson fumbled. Patrick Mahomes threw an interception. Kansas City had 3 turnovers, and Jacksonville only got 3 points off of it. To me, it was an extremely disappointing offensive game for the Jaguars. And, I really wanted more from this football game. I was hoping for really a shootout, right? Again, this game might have been a good game and a better game than I'm giving it credit for. But I was just expecting more. And so maybe, again, this game is a victim of my expectations. But to me, this game didn't live up to the hype of what it was. I mean, last year was a great playoff game between the Jaguars and Kansas City. And, this week, week 2, just not my favorite game I watched on Sunday. Now, the game that was really exciting, the Giants had a wild comeback. They were losing to Arizona 20-0 at halftime. Then in the second half, they made it 28-7. And the Giants came back and won. They won 31-28 against Arizona. It was crazy, man. I was really worried at halftime when the Giants were down 20-0 because they lost week 1 40-0. Then in the first half of week 2, they're losing 20-0. I'm like, man, you've been outscored 60-0 in the first 6 quarters of football. But the comeback was awesome. In the second half, the Giants scored every time they had the football. 4 touchdowns and a field goal. Daniel Jones played really well. Daniel Jones was 26 for 37 passing, had 321 yards. He threw 2 touchdowns. He had an interception, but he also ran for a touchdown. Daniel Jones was awesome. Saquon Barkley, the Giants running back, had 2 touchdowns. He ran for 1. He caught 1. But the bad news of this football game is, yes, the Giants won. They kicked the field goal to win the game with 19 seconds left. But right before that field goal, a couple plays earlier, Saquon Barkley left the game with an ankle injury. And looked pretty bad. He was getting helped off the field. And the Giants play on Thursday night at San Francisco. I can't imagine Saquon's going to play in that game. And I'm hoping it's a minor injury and Saquon Barkley isn't out for an extended period of time. But we'll find out tomorrow and Monday how bad the injury is. But still, not a great game. How do I even say this? Awesome game for the Giants, winning 31-28. Huge comeback, really fun. They needed it after a horrible loss week 1. They'll play the 49ers on Thursday night. That feels like another loss. So they were headed towards an 0-3 start. And coming back and beating Arizona after being down by so much, that's a massive victory for them. But it's definitely jaded a little bit because of the Saquon Barkley injury and the implications of how long is he going to be out and how bad is it. There's a whole conversation to be had about, he wanted a long-term contract. The Giants didn't want to give it to him. I hate to say it. This is part of why. And I don't know what the answer here is when it comes to running back contracts because frankly, you can just draft another running back in the draft who can do good stuff. And running backs feel so interchangeable. Again, I would just say, if you're a young athlete, catch passes, don't play running back, play receiver. You're more valuable, you'll get better paid. You're going to get hit less. I just think the running back position is it's a situation I wouldn't want to be in. You're never going to get paid a ton of money. You're going to have more injuries than everybody else, and people are going to penalize you for everything you do that's good, because the more yards you get, the more hits you take, the more people are going to assume you're going to be injured sooner and not want to pay you. So it's just a bad situation, and we'll see how long Saquon Barkley is out. Now, another team in the same division, the Giants had a big comeback. Another NFC East team, the Washington Commanders, also had a big comeback. Denver led Washington 21-3 in the first half. And Denver ended up losing 35-33. 35-33 after a 21-3 lead in the first half. And now, the Broncos did hit a Hail Mary at the end of the game to make it a 2-point game. They did not get the 2-point conversion. Denver went for 2 to try to tie the game. It felt like there was a pretty obvious pass interference penalty that was not called and got overlooked. I'm like, hey, I'm not saying you don't give 2 free points to the Denver Broncos, but they should have lined up and ran it again, because there was definitely pass interference on that play that wasn't called that was kind of irritating. But to me, Denver was pretty good in the first half and pretty bad in the second half. It was a tale of two halves for the Denver Broncos. And my confidence in Russell Wilson is at an all-time low. When Sean Payton took over the Saints, they won immediately. They started off 2-0. Sean Payton with the Denver Broncos is 0-2. And Russell Wilson hasn't been bad enough to bench. He played, I thought, a pretty solid game week 1. Extended plays well. He wasn't as good in this football game. But I am starting to worry. What do you do with Russell Wilson if it doesn't work out between him and Sean Payton? The doubt is starting to creep in for me, where I'm like, I was expecting better from Sean Payton and Russell Wilson. And I don't want to overreact. Denver's 0-2, but only by a combined 3 points. They lost by 1 point week 1, 2 points in week 2. But it's still not great. And I'm growing more and more worried about Russell Wilson. I'm like, oh, man, he had a horrible year last year. I don't know what to make of that. And this year, Russell Wilson, he's a potential Hall of Fame quarterback. Basically, by the way, feels like he's playing himself out of a Hall of Fame career potentially by playing badly and playing average and not doing notable stuff. But the great Russell Wilson, you can't allow, if you have a massive lead, you got to keep scoring. You can't allow a team like Washington to come back and beat you. And I know it's on the defense and all this other stuff, but I would love to hear from Denver Broncos fans. I don't feel great about what's going on in Denver with Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. Now, I mentioned them. I feel like I should. I don't have a lot to say about Washington. I feel like the story really is that the Broncos blew the lead. They're 0-2. But I got to credit Washington. The Commanders are 2-0. Great way to start the year. Awesome win for them. Coming back, down 18 points to come back and win. The Commanders are 2-0. Good for them. And good win by Washington. Another team that's 2-0, Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are also 2-0. Tampa beat Chicago 27-17. And it feels like Baker has found a home. Baker Mayfield was 26 for 34 passing, 317 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 turnovers in this football game. Mike Evans had 6 catches for 171 yards and a touchdown. Tampa couldn't come to a deal. They didn't give Mike Evans a contract before the year started. And he's playing like a guy that wants to be paid. It's baffling to me they couldn't work it out, because Mike Evans is fantastic, has been for a long time in Tampa. If they let him go to free agency, he's going to walk away to a contender and make a lot of money, I would imagine, after this year. Now, after this football game, the Bears are 0-2. And if I was a Bears fan, I would be worried. Justin Fields was sacked 6 times in this football game, and a lot of them were because he held onto the ball too long, extended plays, didn't throw it away. He took sacks. It wasn't like him having no chance. I saw Zach Wilson get sacked a couple times against Dallas today, where Zach Wilson had no shot. He snapped the ball, and within a second, he had Micah Parsons taking him to the ground. That wasn't the case with Justin Fields. He was just holding onto the ball too long and allowing the pass rush to get home. And, Justin Fields threw 2 interceptions at the end of the fourth quarter. One, he threw a pick six on a screen pass. They were down 3 points, 20-17, trying to put together a drive to take the lead or tie the game. And instead of doing that, it gave them a 10-point deficit. It gave the Buccaneers a 27-17 lead. So Justin Fields didn't look great. The offense in general in 2 games hasn't looked very good in Chicago. And you've got a defensive head coach, Matt Eberflus, whose defense doesn't even look good. It's really bad. I mean, I watched the play 3rd and 14. Tampa's was 3rd and 14, and the Bears defense allowed a touchdown pass to Mike Evans. We were like, how do you allow that? How do you allow him to get behind you? And just Chicago's all bad. So many frustrating things happen watching the Chicago Bears game. The Bears are now 0-2. They play Kansas City next at Kansas City. And Bears fans, I thought the Bears were going to be a team that wouldn't win very many games, but at least was going to be fun to watch and exciting and interesting. But the Bears have not been fun. They've just been bad. Not losing and exciting, but no, losing and awful and ugly. And man, I really go back to Matt Eberflus is a nice man. He's a good defensive coordinator. They should have hired an offensive coach, an offensive head coach to work with Justin Fields and get the most out of his talent. And it's increasingly feeling like they hired the wrong guy. They're not helping Justin Fields the way he needs. And on top of that, the guy they hired, a defensive coach, doesn't even have a good defense in Chicago. So what are we doing? It's all bad. It's really, really bad what's going on. It reminds me of Brandon Staley in L.A. Brandon Staley, by the way, the Chargers lost to Tennessee today on Sunday. And it goes back to, if you're a defensive head coach, your defense has to be good. Like Robert Saleh is a defensive head coach in New York with the Jets. Say what you want about his quarterback situation, but the Jets' defense is really good. The thing he hangs his hat on at least delivers every game. And we don't see that with Brandon Staley, and we don't see that with Matt Eberflus. It's frustrating, it's disappointing, it's a letdown, and it's bad. We were talking about the Jets. The Jets, it was a bad game for them. Dallas beat the Jets 30-10 on Sunday. Zach Wilson made his first official start replacing the injured Aaron Rodgers. Zach Wilson was 12 for 27 passing at 170 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. All 3 interceptions were in the fourth quarter. And in the next 4 games, the Jets play the Patriots. The Jets' next 4 games are the Patriots, Kansas City, Denver, and then Philly. And it's so disappointing because I can't help but wondering, like watching them lose by 20 points to the Dallas Cowboys. I know that I think every team is going to struggle to some degree against the Cowboys defense because the Cowboys defense is so good. They have great pass rush. They've got good corners. They're going to make every offense have a tough time. Every team that plays against Dallas is going to have a tough time on offense. But man, I did wonder watching the Jets game, what would have happened if Aaron Rodgers had played for the Jets? What would have Aaron Rodgers been able to do? He might have got sacked a bunch. We don't know. I mean, I think actually Zach Wilson is more mobile than Aaron Rodgers was. But man, not a great performance. Zach Wilson did the best he could. Zach Wilson's best right now is just not very good. Garrett Wilson was open multiple times, did not get the ball when he was open. That's a huge difference. I think Aaron Rodgers would have fed the ball repeatedly to Garrett Wilson. There was a play, got picked off, where Zach Wilson stared down Garrett Wilson. Instead of holding the safety in the middle, he stared it down, allowing the safety to follow his eyes and track the ball. And it was, instead of a huge throw to Garrett Wilson, who badly beat the corner, it was an interception because Zach Wilson wasn't disciplined with his eyes, holding the safety in the middle and working, trusting Garrett Wilson's going to win outside. I got to hold the safety and then work my way back over to the left. He didn't do that. Zach Wilson made multiple mistakes in this football game. And I want to believe, man, he is talented. He had a throw that was ruled out of bounds, where running to his left, flips his hips, throws a great ball down the left sideline. You're like, that's a beautiful throw. And Tony Romo during the game was like, that's an amazing throw. It got ruled out of bounds. There was also a penalty on it. But there are flashes of talent from Zach Wilson, but not enough. And he does too many little things wrong to succeed despite his talent. Now, Garrett Wilson took a 5-step slant for a 68-yard touchdown. He made a great play, huge run after the catch. And watching that play made me very sad, actually, because it's so clear that Garrett Wilson's talent is being wasted by not having a great quarterback. It's just like, oh man, it's wasted potential and wasted talent here with Garrett Wilson, who, get this man a great quarterback, please. He's open so often and not getting the football. And, oh man, I have hope. I like Zach Wilson. I'm rooting for him, but it's not going well. 2 games in, Zach Wilson replacing Aaron Rodgers, not good. All right, I got to take a short break. We got to pay the bills. After the break, we're going to talk about Colorado and then Alabama. Hey guys, it's kind of a big deal here. I'm actually trying to help you, so don't skip the ad. I know that when you listen to a podcast, you skip ahead. I know that because that's what I do, but don't skip this one. We got Factor as a sponsor, and I was sitting down to prepare my little ad read. They give, I write a piece of paper with a bunch of notes, and I'm like, okay, what are they offering? What's the deal here? Usually it's like 10 to 20%. Like, okay, factor.com/SOS, whatever. And no. They are offering 50% off to Strong Opinion Sports listeners. And here's what they are. Factor is a meal kit service. You can get 50% off. Go to factormeals.com/SOS50 and use code SOS50. And straight up on a human level, if you'd be kind of silly not to investigate, it's a great deal. Factor is a meal kit service. They send you ready-to-eat meals. They're easy to prepare. For me, they showed up in a box with a bunch of high-quality ice packs. You take them out of the box, you put the meal kits in the fridge, and when you want food, you go to the fridge, you take it out, you put the thing in the microwave, you heat it up, 2 minutes later, you've got a really good meal ready to go. Now, the microwave part made me kind of go, what is this? Is it a bunch of TV dinners? Like, what is this crap? No. This is phenomenal food. It's high quality. It's never frozen. And compared to all the other options you can have for a quick and easy meal, it kind of kicks booty and is phenomenal. So what I really think is interesting too, there's so many ways to customize your order, whether maybe you're on a diet and you're like, hey, I'm trying to cut calories. There are low calorie options. Or maybe you just want really good food that's easy to make and doesn't take 30 minutes to an hour out of your time cooking during the day. Like for me, I'm really busy with football season, and it's an incredibly valuable thing for me to go to my fridge, grab a really good meal, pull it out, put it in the microwave. 2 minutes later, I've got a good meal ready to go. I saved a lot of time. It's cheaper for you and better than takeout or delivery. I used to drive for a delivery service. Guys, those prices are not good compared to this. So again, it's just nice to have the fridge loaded with high quality, good meals that are easy to prepare. And you can get 50% off of this meal kit service. Do the math. That's a really good offer. So head to factormeals.com/SOS50 and use code SOS50 to get 50% off. That is factormeals.com/SOS50. Use code SOS50 to get 50% off. Again, code SOS50 at factormeals.com/SOS50 to get 50% off. And guys, it's a great offer. You would be silly. I'm trying to help you. Like, that would be a great thing to investigate because it's legitimately a great deal. Food's expensive right now, and having food that's great and convenient and not terrible for you is a rare thing. So investigate it. Factormeals.com/SOS50. All right, we are back. Hope we're doing very well. I am just coughing up yellow phlegm a ton. I am very sick. I'm not doing well. I'm on medication right now. I'm trying my best. But I think I will be much better Tuesday when I record next. But today, I'm pushing through. I hope you're patient with me. One thing I learned from the last episode on Friday is that this microphone setup, this recording studio, is amazing. Because no matter what is happening in the background, it could be a dog barking, it could be insane jet planes, it could be the police department, the fire department coming down the street. You guys can't hear anything in the background, and that makes me feel very confident and very comfortable. So from here on out, I know now that when stuff is going on outside in the background, you can't hear anything. And it makes me proud. I work really hard. I think, if nothing else, I'm a pretty solid audio engineer. And it makes me glad that I can filter out the background noise and make it so you can't hear anything going on other than what's happening in this room, me talking into this microphone. The exciting game in college football this weekend was Colorado beating Colorado State 43-35. Colorado beat Colorado State 43-35 in double overtime. And this game was so much fun to watch. Shedeur Sanders, the Colorado quarterback, was 38 for 47 passing. That's 9 incomplete passes on basically 47 attempts. That's almost 50. Threw for 348 yards, had an interception, but he threw 4 touchdown passes. And Colorado, they were down 11 points in the fourth quarter. Like, this was a great game to watch because they came back, they won, it was fun, it was dramatic. Colorado got the ball on their own 2-yard line. I remember when Colorado State was punting on like their 45-yard line with 2.5 minutes left. I'm like, I wouldn't punt this ball. I would not give the ball back to Shitter Sanders in Colorado. But then Colorado State has a perfect, beautiful punt, gets down inside the 2-yard line. So what that did was give Colorado the ball down 8 points. So you got to get a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. So Colorado ball down 8 on your own 2-yard line with 2 minutes and 6 seconds left. I'm like, hey, I thought you should have gone for it, but you know what? Make Shitter Sanders drive 98 yards, and that's exactly what he did. It reminded me of the drive from John Elway. 98-yard drive. The Colorado Buffaloes did it in 1 minute and 30 seconds. So they get the ball 2 minutes and 6 seconds left. With 36 seconds left, they scored a touchdown to make it a 2-point game. Then they got the 2-point conversion to force overtime. They won in overtime. It was dramatic. It was fun. And as a fan of football, as a guy rooting for Colorado, I had a great time. It was tense. It was dramatic. It was interesting. It was just an all-around really fun game to watch if you just watch that football game. However, if you take a step back and look big picture-wise at Colorado and their season, it was concerning. Colorado plays next week at Oregon. Then after that, they play against USC. And if Colorado would beat Colorado State 55-14, I would feel really confident about the Oregon and USC games. But they barely beat Colorado State, a Mountain West school, in double overtime. And, Colorado State, by the way, had 4 turnovers and 17 penalties for 182 yards. It wasn't like Colorado State played their best game. Colorado State was handing opportunity after opportunity to Colorado. Like, if Colorado State had a couple less penalties, they had big plays. They had touchdowns called back. They had a big throw before halftime down at the 2-yard line called back for holding. Like, constant penalties from Colorado State is part of why Colorado won this football game. It felt like Colorado was given a big help from their opponent, Colorado State. And, it feels like Colorado won a close game that should not have been close, if I'm totally honest. Now, Colorado State hung around. I want to give them credit because they made some good plays, but it's hard to respect Colorado State because they played really dirty. I counted, there's not an official tracker of this. There's only a way to, the stats only track total penalties. They had 17 total penalties. But I counted 9 personal fouls in this football game for Colorado State, including a late cheap shot on their star player, Travis Hunter, a Heisman Trophy candidate, plays corner and receiver. And that knocked Travis Hunter out of the game. He played like a couple more plays and then didn't return after halftime. And I guess if you can't stop Travis Hunter, you just injure him. It's not good sportsmanship. It's horrible to me. How can you respect that? Colorado State safety Henry Blackburn is a player that I just have no respect for. I don't know how. I think he's a captain, too. You're like, how is that possible? This guy plays with no class. I guess from a competitive standpoint, you're trying to knock their best player out of the game, and that works. But hit him hard on a play where it matters. The ball was on the ground. It's an incomplete pass. And after the play is over, Nick Blackburn just completely levels Travis Hunter. Probably broke a rib. We don't know what happened yet. We're waiting on a diagnosis, but he's going to miss a couple games. He's going to miss both the Oregon game and the USC game. That's frustrating, man. Like, Nick Blackburn, what are you doing? It's just so poor when it comes to sportsmanship there. And Colorado State on the day. Late hits, cheap shots. Like, I don't know how you can respect Colorado State. I want to because they played a good game. They made it interesting with Colorado, but oh, man, Colorado State, they played the villain role really well. They really did. It's almost like they wanted us to hate them. They talked smack to Deion Sanders, which I don't know why you would ever do that. Bunch of late hits. They knock America's favorite player, Travis Hunter, out of the game with a late cheap shot. Somehow Nick Blackburn didn't get tossed out of the football game. I don't know, man. Colorado State, like I said, they play the villain role really well. And I'm just glad Colorado won. Colorado's 3-0 now. But, I'm not sure if they're going to beat Oregon next week. They play on the road at Oregon. Oregon's pretty good. What I will say, my confidence has been lowered in Colorado. They struggled in the first half against Nebraska. They barely beat Colorado State, a Mountain West school, in double overtime, who, by the way, Colorado State lost like 50-24 to Washington State. So that's kind of a benchmark to see how good Colorado State really is. The only thing I'll say, my confidence in Colorado, Deion Sanders' program, is long-term really high. I still think eventually he's going to win a national title. The more I think about Deion, I don't think he's going to leave Colorado. I think he's actually just going to build what he's doing there. He's got a great view of the mountains. He's got a good situation. I don't see Deion leaving for a Florida State or LSU, nothing like that. I think Deion's like, why would I leave? I got a great gig here. I've got this advantage where I play at elevation, so people got to come to us and struggle in elevation. And Deion can build his program his way and be the man and get to do whatever he wants in Colorado. Why would he ever leave? So, I'm not sure if they beat Oregon next week or USC in 2 weeks, but certainly I really believe in the direction Colorado is going. And the one thing I'll say is that all 3 times I've watched Colorado this year, week 1 against TCU, last week against Nebraska, this weekend against Colorado State, every time I've watched them, they have delivered with a great game. It's been really fun and worth watching. And so, I don't know if they beat Oregon. I can't imagine it's not going to be entertaining when they play at Oregon this next weekend. I just hope it's fun and interesting. Even if they lose, if they fight hard and it's close, I'll be happy with that. If they win, I'd be elated. But I got to be realistic here. An unconvincing performance from Colorado, narrowly beating Colorado State in double overtime, which did hurt my confidence overall in the program this year. All right, Alabama's in trouble. Alabama beat South Florida 17-3 on Saturday. It was rough. It was 3-3 at halftime. They did not play their quarterback, Jalen Milroe, at all. He was benched after the loss to Texas last weekend. So they played Ty Simpson and Tyler Buckner at quarterback. They combined for 10 completed passes. It was ugly. Tyler Buckner started. He was 5 for 14 passing at 34 yards. He was benched before halftime even arrived. I thought for sure he played at least a halftime, then they benched him, but no. He got benched before halftime. Then Ty Simpson came in, led them on a field goal drive. He scored all 17 points, or he was the quarterback on all 17 points of the drive. All the drives where Alabama scored, all 17 points was Ty Simpson at quarterback. I'm struggling here, but Ty Simpson was 5 for 9 at 73 yards. Like, Ty Simpson wasn't much better either. There was some rain. It was tough to throw the ball in, I guess, but Alabama, in the first 3 games, they have switched between 3 different quarterbacks, and to me, it feels really impatient. I think Alabama should go back to their former quarterback, Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe has a lot to learn. He struggles reading coverages. He has a lot of downsides. I'm not arguing Jalen Milroe is amazing, but he's really talented. He's got a great deep ball. He's a great runner of the football. I think they could have used Jalen Milroe against South Florida, to be totally honest. In a bad situation, it was really rainy. His ability to run around and scramble would have been a huge asset in that football game. And instead of giving up on Jalen Milroe, how about you coach him up? How about you teach him how to play quarterback better? Nick Saban is this legendary head coach known for his reputation is, I turn players into NFL players. Why are you afraid of coaching up Jalen Milroe and just making him a better quarterback? He's the most talented quarterback on that roster by far. And it's baffling to me they're not willing to deal with the downside to get the upside he brings and just work with him and coach him up and make him better. It's really sad. Alabama's got a quarterback problem either way, but I can't imagine long-term Ty Simpson or Tyler Buckner's really a better option than Jalen Milroe. He's going to have bad plays. He's got a lot to learn, but he's explosive. He can run for a lot of yards. He can make his deep ball is way better. He's got a bigger, better arm than Tyler Buckner or Ty Simpson. I just think Alabama's making a mistake by not giving Jalen Milroe a longer leash, and instead of benching him, how about you teach him and help him and coach him up? And to me, it's frustrating and disappointing to see Alabama, a team that is historic for developing NFL players, and they have this great reputation for coaching people up and developing them. But in this situation, they're not willing to coach up or develop Jalen Milroe, who is so obviously the most talented quarterback. It's very frustrating and nonsensical to me. Now, last thing I want to say today, BYU had a nice win over Arkansas. It was pretty cool. I watched it. BYU beat Arkansas 38-31. It's a big win, beating an SEC team on the road at Arkansas. And a friend of the show, Keaton Slovis, had 2 touchdown passes, both of them in the second half. Played a clean game, no turnovers. Shout out to Keaton Slovis, beating Arkansas at Arkansas. I love to see it. Well done, Keaton. And, man, hey, really cool to see BYU knock off Arkansas on the road, an SEC program. And, man, the SEC has a lot of non-conference wins to start the year, don't they? Florida losing to Utah, BYU beating Arkansas, South Carolina losing to North Carolina. There's a lot. I mean, it goes on and on. There's a lot of losses from the SEC early in this season, losing non-conference games. And, man, that's interesting given that we're seeing college football right now basically shift to it's the SEC and the Big Ten and no one else matters. It's like, well, a lot of teams are beating SEC programs. So it's interesting to me. Guys, I love you. I appreciate you. My throat hurts. My head hurts. I got a headache. My stomach hurts. Everything hurts. I'm coughing up just yellow phlegm. It's horrible. So I'm going to go. I'll see you on Tuesday. Again, I invite feedback. I'm going to watch the 49ers game. I'm going to watch the battle of the rookie quarterbacks, Houston and Indianapolis, tomorrow. What other games am I missing? Other than the Monday night games, obviously, but are there games I'm not paying attention to that I should have been? Was there something exciting that happened I didn't know? Because I just felt like it was kind of an average week of NFL football, if I'm totally honest, and I want feedback and to be corrected if I'm wrong about that. Guys, I love you. Appreciate you. Have a great day. And ba-dum-bum, bam, we are